Greetings, I'm Barrett and welcome to Meet Me at the Table. We're going to begin our playthrough of the Tainted Grail, the Fall of Avalon. That's right, we're going to start here. This right here is going to be our open and play. Do not shuffle this card deck. We'll get to the card deck, but I want to show you that this is the open and play section of the Tainted Grail. It's kind of the prelude, and it's a tutorial on how you're going to be able to play the Tainted Grail. It's going to have no spoilers whatsoever when it comes to the actual game itself. This is a standalone tutorial mission that has nothing to do with the game. So I'm excited to bring this to you. We're going to go through this entire thing step by step so that we know kind of what the game is about and how it's played. And then after that, I may be working on a playthrough video of it myself, but I'm not exactly sure when I'm going to be posting it because I want people to get a chance to play it for themselves before I start playing it for them, or showing at least parts of the game. That's my plan. If you're excited to see if we can make it through the prelude of the Tainted Grail, spoiler note, I don't think we're going to fail. I need you to meet me at the table. So here's a small narrative of the prelude text. We're going to go through this real quick. It says they still call this place a farmland, even though barren fields provide little food and crumbling walls offer no protection. The last relic of the glory days of the Connacht is its menhir, always adorned with red ribbons lit by candles and with a daily offering at its gnarled feet. As long as the menhir propels the wiredness, the townfolk are ready to endure anything. But last night, the wiredness came closer than ever before. A man was lost, following the call of his future self. A house on the outskirts of town has turned inside out, its furniture grown into a bloated outer shell, like barnacles on the side of a boat. For many hours, the air tasted of metal and sour milk. Now people say your guardian menhir is failing, like many others all over the land. For you, the night was even worse. The festering wound in your side throbbed as if something tried to tear itself free and join the rolling clouds of the weird outside of town. In the morning, a boy comes running to your shack. Master Erifer needs to see you. Move, you big goof! You chase the brat away with your well-aimed throw of a boot, and immediately start to regret it as the boot lands in a deep puddle outside your door. Now the rest of the first page kind of tells you what supplies to gather, a little bit about all the four characters that are in this game, and also kind of a little bit about what the icons you're going to be seeing. But we're going to go over a lot of that during the playthrough, so I'm not really going to read them verbatim here. We're just going to begin setting up our character. So in this prelude, we're going to be playing with Bjor. He is a local smith known for short temper and incredible strength. He does his best to conceal a festering, unhealable wound in his side that he received under mysterious circumstances. Now on this card, there's going to be many different things. This is our little character card. It shows us exactly where his starting cubes are going to lay and how powerful he is in certain different aspects of his character. He also is going to start with certain resources, and then that's about all you're going to get on this card. Now on the flip side, of course, it's going to tell you a little bit more. It shows you what kind of actions he can perform and also kind of his detriment. Now you have to remember, our characters were not chosen to be part of the original Tainted Grail people to go searching for it. We are kind of the afterthought because sadly, we have been plagued by some mysterious force. So we have been left behind to take care of the land. So now we know what character we're going to go ahead and take. We're going to get our board ready. So here's the board for Bjor. Now it tells us we're going to take this marker. This marker is going to represent our health, and it's also going to represent the max we can go on stamina, and also it's going to tell us if we ever go insane. As we start playing through the game, we may lose health, and if we do, we're only able to gain back the certain amount of stamina that is up to its little bar here. And if our terror ever goes above this, then we've become insane, and it becomes a little bit more detrimental into our success of the game. So it tells us to go ahead and start, of course, on the top. So we have all the stamina and health we can. And of course, we're supposed to set our character up the way that it shows us on the back of his card. So he's going to have 2 up in aggression. He's going to have 1 in courage, and then he's also going to get 1 down here in practicality and 1 in caution. But he doesn't get any in empathy or spirituality. That's just how his character plays. Now also on the back it tells us what his starting resources are. So he's going to gain 3 food, so we're going to put 3 cubes right here in the food, and we're also going to gain 1 wealth. Then we're going to take our character and we're going to place him right in here. Now the cool thing about these boards is if you decide you don't want to be this guy and you want to be somebody else, you can switch that out. So for example, say I want to be this character, I just go ahead and put that right in here, and then I can play that character. So these boards are interchangeable, I believe, but of course this is his starting board, and when you go to play for the first time, you're going to be using his character and his board. So that's really how you get your character all set up. Now the next thing it's going to tell us to do is take out this open and play deck. Of course, we saw the first card in the intro. Now we're going to go ahead and remove that card, but underneath here is going to be all the cards we're going to use in this tutorial. So we have a diplomacy deck, we also have a combat deck, and then under that we have our encounters, and these all say your first encounter, your first encounter, your first encounter, and your first encounter. So we're going to go ahead and put those down right there. Now we're going to take our 15 card combat deck and set it next to our character board. Do not shuffle this deck. It says that in big bold letters on the board in the story thing. And we also have a diplomacy deck. Also, do not shuffle this. Now for the tutorial, you don't shuffle it. In the main game, you will be shuffling these decks quite a bit. But for the tutorial, it wants to explain how the game is played. And to be able to do that, it's already preset the decks for you. Next, we're going to go ahead and take our encounter cards, we're going to place them next to the board, but we don't have a board. We have cards that are going to create a board, so we got to go ahead and do that before I can put these down. All right, let's see what cards we have. It tells us to grab 1 through 7, and we're going to go ahead and build our area. Now, of course, like I said before, this is not really spoiling anything because from what I gather, this is going to be the first card of your actual encounter adventure that you're going to be taking in the Tainted Grail. Now, this is the Prelude quest, so nothing really that's going to be on these cards is going to be used. It's all going to be found, I think, in this Prelude thing we have. But I just want to show you some of these, the iconography on these cards. So this means that you can dream here. It's a friendly city, and there's also one of those menhirs here. And it also down here shows that we can do some of these things. Now, we're not going to be doing any of these things because that's going to be part of the main game. This is just a tutorial to show you kind of how to move around this map and how to do encounters and things of that sort. So like it says, there is a menhir here. He's right here, and it shows us to put this dial in here. Now this is a little coin that you're going to use not only to flip to find out if certain things happen to you, but it does have these numbers on it that are going to correlate to what you're going to be ticking down or gaining. Now we're going to go ahead and set it in here, and it tells us to set it on 8. So we're going to put it right there on 8 and put it right down here. Now as time goes, we're going to turn this dial left and right to gain or lose time based on what the cards tell us. It also tells us to put out the rest of these cards, and you're going to go ahead and set these up by finding where the card is on the bottom that it's going to connect to. And of course right here it tells you it's going to connect to this card. So we're going to set out our cards that have to go with this particular area. So we have 103, it's going to go right here, and we have 104, which is going to go right here, and then we have 105, which is going to go down here. I apologize, it's a little off camera, but there we go. We have our things. We're going to go ahead and put our little statue guy right there, and then we're going to put our character, of course. Here he is. Look at him. Oh, that's pretty awesome. He's going to go right there. All right, that's kind of your starting area for our Prelude quest. And now we're going to go ahead and put out our encounter deck, and it kind of is really cool. It kind of makes this little neat pattern here, so you can place it just like that. And of course, if you're colorblind, they say that they've created this just so that if people are colorblind, they can just go to the type of tab. So if you needed a blue one, you're always going to know the blue one's going to have the thing up in the corner. And if you don't see a certain color, you might be able to just know, oh, well, that's the one I can't figure out. It must be this one. Now, I'm not colorblind, so I don't know exactly how that works, and I apologize. And I hope I'm not offending anybody that's colorblind in any way, because that's not my intent here. But I did know their intent was to set it up so that you could figure out which one to pull based on the symbols, where it is on the symbols on this card. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so we got our encounter cards set up, we have our hero set up, and we have our board set up. Now it also tells us to take our overview cards, which are really, really good. I mean, look at these things. These are amazing. They've got so much stuff on them. It tells you everything you're going to do during the order of the day, and then it's going to tell you to flip it to the back side if you want to know what actions you can have. I mean, there's the iconography on all the combat and diplomacy cards. I mean, these are just fantastic. You don't really need to go back to the rules very often if you have all this in front of you to look at. So the final thing we have to do for Bjor is we have to set up his energy and his terror. So we're going to go ahead and place them right in where the chevrons are. Yes, just like Stargate. We're going to lock them in place. So we have the 6 and we have 0. So he starts with 6 energy and he has 0 terror right off the bat. So let's go ahead and start our playthrough of the Tainted Grail. We're going through the Prelude quest. So we're going to start with the beginning of the day, which says remove the expired menhir and discard locations that are out of the menhir's range. Now his range is everything around him that you can touch with a card, including diagonal. So all like 9 of these cards, he's going to be able to, this thing will shed light onto. Now, of course, we haven't seen some of the cards yet. We haven't actually traveled to any of these locations. We don't know what they are. But if this was to actually burn out, we would lose the ability to see these cards. So you're never going to have like the entire map all built out in front of you, because these things are going to ignite and depart based on what kind of happens throughout the game. So that's what we're going to do first. We're not going to do that. Now it says reduced all time and dials, remove time tokens. Okay, we're going to go ahead and tick our number 8 down to number 7. So I think it's an 8 right now. We're going to go to 7. We're going to stick it back in there. There we go. And he's all set to go. Now we're going to continue on down. It says reveal the next event card. Now in this prelude, we're not going to actually be pulling any event cards because, again, we don't want to spoil any of the game. It has actually set up one event that we're going to have to take advantage of. And here's our quest. We have to speak to the Connacht's blacksmith Airfray. And here's the hint. To meet him, we have to explore the farmhold location. Now, I apologize if I'm pronouncing any of these words wrong. I'm not very good at pronouncing words, so if I have pronounced any of the words wrong, please bear with me. But we're going to go ahead and explore the location, I believe, is the next thing we're going to do. Now, if we look at our Order of the Day card, it continues. Move Guardians, and then we're going to pick active items and secret cards. Now, of course, there are no Guardians. What are Guardians? That's a great question. Guardians are dangerous enemies that will keep on maneuvering around the board even after you've maybe escaped from battle with them, or they may have popped up somewhere and they're just traveling around and you're going to be rolling a die to have them move around. It's kind of cool. I haven't actually seen them play because, well, we're doing the tutorial and this is the very first time I've ever played the game. So, but it's going to be an interesting system to see how they actually move and actually interact with me. Now we're going to go ahead and move into during the day. Until everyone runs out of energy or passes, players perform one action each in any order. So we're going to start with our wonderful character here. He's going to go ahead and perform an action. And they tell you in the tutorial that your action you're going to do is you're going to search for your blacksmith friend. So we're going to go ahead and pay 1 energy to do that. So to perform that action, we're going to go ahead and remove 1 energy from Bjor. Now, during the actual play of the Tainted Grail, you would take the card after you explore and flip it over and read what's on the back. But since it's the prelude, they don't want you to see any of that, so they've got their own stuff set up in the book. So according to the guide, we're going to go ahead and read from our tutorial exploration journal. Now, this is the back page of the journal, and it is just for the tutorial. And it says right here, here's our 101 card. So this would be something you might read on the back of your card, but instead they're guiding me towards this book. It says we're going to talk about the farmhold. Exploration journal entries for the most locations in Tainted Grail start with an introduction that leads to your decision. Read the location introduction first. A deep feeling of loss pervades Connacht. From dilapidated farms to the sunken eyes of those who remain in the town. The menhir in the market is nearly extinguished. Still, this place is the only home you ever knew. Now, you're ready to choose what to do in this location. Below are 2 options redirecting you to different verses, paragraphs. Each has a requirement. The first time you come here, you are only able to choose the first option because the second one requires a specific part of a status. Story trigger marked on your tutorial save sheet. If you are here for the second time, you should already have part 2 of the required status. So only the second option is accessible to you. So here it says that I'm going to have to speak with your master only if you do not have any part of the surprising errand status. We don't have any. That's why it says that we're going to go to verse 1, kind of like they talked about up here. Now also, if we do, complete your mission requires part 2 of the surprising errand status. Now we don't have that, so we don't go to verse 2, we go to verse 1. And here's number 1. It says, Airfray is up earlier than usual. As you enter, he hides a large pack behind a curtain and turns to you with a wide smile. You here, lad? Good. I hope you're ready to stretch your legs a bit. I hear a star fell near Whitening, and a local tanner picked it up. It is a solid ingot. Large as your dingy head. I'd rather not have it fall into the hands of some other smith. You nod. Falling stars are bad omen for most simple folk, but they always excite blacksmiths and armorers. After all, legendary Excalibur was forged from one of these cold shards of distant skies. Soon you depart, walking down the sloping field toward the mist-covered forest, with some rations, your trusty hammer, and a purse of silver Ephraim gave you. Before stepping into the shadows of the trees, you take one last look back at the ancient statue towering above shacks and houses. How much longer can this tired old thing protect Kangchat? Gain part 1 of the surprising errand status. Gain 1 wealth. Exploration ends. So after going through all that exploration, we gained the surprising errand and we also gained a wealth. Now it says that you have gained your first story-related status. Mark it on your tutorial save sheet or write it down on a piece of paper. Bjorn gains 1 wealth and you take 1 universal marker and place it on the wealth slot. So now we're up to 2 wealth. Now after that, the exploration ends and you should return to the game. So go to part 3 for our first travel. So on our character board, we're going to go ahead and gain 1 wealth. And this game comes with this amazing save sheet. So you're able to put some player notes. You're also able to write down kind of what's happening. Also down here, you can write down how many characters you have and what exactly is going on with them when it comes to their abilities and what they have down here, reputation, experience, and so forth. Also on the back, I'm not going to show it to you, but it does have things where you can check off certain parts of the game that have happened. For example, like it told us, we are going to write down that we have gained the surprising errand status. So now it tells us we need to get to Whitening. So Whitening, they said, was in the northeast. Now we have 2 different ways to go. We can either go this way or we can go this way. So let's go ahead and look at those cards and see what they say. So here is the Charred Conclave. And here we can dream. That's what that thing says. But right down here it says, draw a gray encounter when you enter this location once per day. This signifies that that has to happen as soon as you enter this. So it might be kind of a bad place to go. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's up here. We're in the Hunter's Grove. Well, that sounds a little bit better. We have a hunt. We can also dream up here as well. Down here it says we can gather food. We can gain 2 food and draw a green encounter. Well, that sounds like a better plan. And our tutorial actually says that we should go that way too. So we're going to go ahead and move in this direction after paying that one more energy in order to move. So every time you move, you're going to use an energy. So we're going to go up here and we're also going to lose 1 energy for that. So Bjorn is now down to 4 energy. Wow, we're just eating through our energy. And now that we've moved up here, we're going to reveal all the cards that are touching our statue here, our main here. We're going to go ahead and put down the Whitening, and we're also going to put down the Four Dweller Mounds. Now, we're not going to put the card up here because his light does not reach that far up there. So let's go ahead and let's just look at the Whitening because that, I think, is where we're going to be going. And again, we can dream here. There's another one of those menhir statues, and this signifies that it's not exactly a happy town to see us. And down here, draw a blue encounter when you enter this location. So this is the town of Whitening. We're going to be going there, I'm pretty sure. But first, it's going to tell us that we should probably try to gain some food. So food's a pretty important resource, and according to our card here, we can spend 2 energy to gather food and draw 1 green encounter. So that is what we're going to go ahead and do. So let's go ahead and take care of that. So we're going to gain 2 food, which we're going to eat at the end of every day. So it's good to have a good stockpile of food because you never know when you might come to a place where you don't have food. It does take 2 energy, so we're going to have to drop that down. Now, of course, if we get down into this area, we're going to become exhausted, and that's going to affect us in the next turn. Sometimes you might have to do it in order to get through what's happening during your day, but it's probably best to stop before something like that might happen. Now it tells us that we're going to have to draw a green encounter. It says your very first encounter. Now, a lot of times the green encounters might end up giving you food in the long run too. So not only do we gather food from here, we might actually get food from our encounter card as well. So if we take a look at our encounter card, we found a mist-shaped vermin. Now right here it says the encounter value. You will need this many cubes in order to win. So you basically kind of have to do that much damage to this enemy. These are the attribute keys. You're going to place your first card here. I'm going to talk about that when we go into the combat, which is going to be very soon. Now, our combat pool, put every gained cube over here. So we're going to put all our cubes over there. If it ever gets to 4, we're going to win. Now, this is the combat table. This is what the monster is going to do to us when it gets to its opportunity. And of course, it might even run away. But if we win, we're going to gain some food. So we have to encounter our mist-shaped vermin. So we're going to begin combat, and we're going to go ahead and use our little overview here. So if we start, we're right up here at starting the encounter, draw 3 cards from the combat deck. 4 characters only gain 2 cards. So if you start to play with 4, you only get 2. Now we're going to check, and then we're going to check the enemy traits. So we're going to take our combat deck and draw 3 cards. Now, of course, it tells us just to draw the top 3, and we're not supposed to shuffle these. So we have our 3 cards. Let's take a look at each one of them. So we have Ignore Pain. Now, these are some of the symbols we're going to try to match up with our vermin to trigger different effects. And down here is going to be a certain thing that could happen if this card is the top card in your actual play area. I'll show you how that works. And this, of course, tells you what number and where you can find this card. And these are the, let's see what else we got. We got reposition. All right, another set of icons. And it's going to be a little thing that's going to happen if this card is the top card in the little deck here. And then we have attack. Again, it's got some extra abilities here, and that's about all our cards are going to tell us. So we're going to try to match up these icons. We're going to try to take down this little vermin here. So let's go ahead and see which card we should be playing first. So since our rat does not have any enemy traits, we're going to pick the active character, which is going to be Bjor, since it's the only character we have. And we're going to go ahead and begin his character activation. Delayed abilities. We don't have any delayed abilities. There might be cards out there that are going to tick down and eventually activate, but we don't have any out there right now. So instead, we're going to play cards or receive any opportunity of attacks. So it tells us that we're going to play our attack card. So we're going to line our attack card up with our misshaped vermin. Now, I'm going to switch these decks so we have a better view of these cards. So now if we go ahead and look, we've linked some of these things up. Now you can only activate things based on if your character has those abilities. So for example, this one needs 1 courage or aggression in order to gain the benefit that's over here. And he does start with 2 aggression. So it doesn't mean you're going to lose these. It just means that it's just a check to see if that happens. Also down here, we also gain the linked ability here as well. So we're able to gain 2 red cubes in this situation. So we're going to place them like it says right over here in the combat pool. Now, of course, we do have an ability down here that gives this bad guy +1 damage, and it has a timer on it that's going to allow you to draw a card. Now, if this card gets covered up by another card, this won't activate. So for example, I've got 2 more cards in my hand here. I've got Ignore Pain and Reposition. Now, in order to play a second card in this string, normally the only way you can do it is if you have a card that has this, which allows you to take an extra action, which means we would be able to play this card right here. Now notice none of our things link up, but it does remove this ability from the bottom of this card, and we would gain this one instead. If you escape from combat, ignore the opportunity attack. When you do is try to run from a monster, they do get 1 more attack on you, and this would actually prevent that from happening. So if you're ever in a bad situation, this is probably not a bad card to have. So it tells us that we're going to play Ignore Pain. Now it has a couple of those added abilities, or these little extra abilities, which means you can play this extra card. Now in order to activate these abilities, we're going to set them down and see. We have to be able to link our different things up here. So we are able to link up the magic icon, but our character doesn't have any magic, so this isn't going to be able to activate. If we did want to use that, we would have to spend 1 of our magic points and place it there to show that we've used our magic point in order to activate that type of icon. But that's not the one we're going to be activating. We're actually going to be activating our courage icons. We have 1 courage, which means we're able to go ahead and play this card because these link up. And of course, since we covered up the other card, our delayed ability, drawing a card, doesn't come into effect, which is an interesting way of being able to prevent things that might be detrimental, even though you've played a big giant monster card of an attack. And on the bottom here, we're able to link these together so it says ×1 card. So we're able to draw another card. Let's see what card we got. Powerful Blow. Wow, that sounds awesome. That's going to be really good. All right, we're going to go ahead and put this into our hand. Now that we've gone ahead and not only played 1 combat, but played any number that have this, after we've done that, which we are done now, the tutorial tells us not to move on any farther. Though, of course, I do have a card that I would be able to play because, again, it has 1 of those icons that links up down here. But it tells me not to play that card. It tells me just to stick with what we got. And I'm guessing it does that for a reason. It's probably good. All right, now we have to do after this, we're going to perform the victory check. So do we have 4 cubes here? No, we do not. So sadly, we are not victorious. So if you didn't play any cards, resolve the opportunity attack listed on the encounter card, then draw 1 combat card. All right, well, we did play some cards, so we don't have to worry about that. Now the enemy's going to attack. Resolve the attack on the encounter card that matches the number of markers on the combat pool. Then perform the victory check. All right, so if we look down here, it's going to show us what it's going to do. So if we look down here, it says 0 to 2, we're going to take 1 damage. But of course, we have to go over here as well. And it says when the enemy gains 1 of these for every point of damage that I received. So I received 1, so we're going to go ahead and place that right there. So for taking 1 damage, we're going to take our whole marker and move it down 1. Now we're going to go ahead and go to the end of turn. Or we're actually, sorry, we're going to check our victory check again. Do we have 4? No, we do not. Oh, that's too bad. All right, check readiness. For each party member has been activated, go to phase 3. So if you had multiple people, the next person could maybe go ahead and help you in this combat by starting right here in this card and continuing that way. All right, but we're going to go to the end of turn. Discard. Each party member must discard down to 3 cards. Now, of course, we only have 2, so we're doing pretty good. Now, that means we don't have to discard anything. Now we're going to go ahead and draw. Each party member draws 1 combat card. And it does say party member, so a party can fight enemies together, which is a really cool aspect of this game. So we're going to gain our next combat card, which is Battle Cry. Oh, that's so good. All right, again, loving the art in this game. I've always been a big fan of Awakened Realms art. So we're going to go ahead and put this into our hand. Now that we've done that, we are going to start the next turn. So we're going to go to phase 1. We're going to pick the active character, which again is going to be Bjor. And let's see what he can do. So if we really wanted to, we could totally take this rat out right now with this powerful blow. I could lock this right in here and it's going to do 3 damage. 1 for this, gaining this down here, and also 2 because I do have 2 aggression. But if I do that, it says here, when this card is played, I'm going to lose 1 energy. And if you remember where our energy was, we would become exhausted, which isn't exactly the best thing to do. But so it tells us not to play this card. Instead, it tells us to play Battle Cry. So if we play Battle Cry, we're going to go ahead and start our chain. Now the chain is going to go ahead and start right here. Whenever you play your first card, you automatically can do it, even if nothing really matches up, because this bottom thing will always match up. But if you ever want to play any more, you have to make sure that symbols match. So this one right down here says that we're able to draw a card. Now I could do a damage if I had magic, but I don't. So we're going to draw a card. It says, let's see what we get. We get Throw. Oh, that looks pretty awesome. We're going to throw them. All right, we're going to take this into our hand. Oh my gosh, look at all that awesome stuff on that card. Flip over 1 weapon or shield using this skill, to gain 2 red cubes. This item is inactive until the end of combat. Oh, so it'd be like you're throwing your weapon. That's pretty awesome. Now, if we go ahead and look at throw, we're going to be playing it next, and we can play it next because we are able to lock in some of these abilities. We're able to lock in the top one, which does give us the ability to play play this card. So once this card is played, we're able to gain, we don't get anything here, 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 but we do get 1 red cube down here at the bottom. That one locks together. So we're going to take our 4th red cube and place it right there, which means we're probably going to have enough to defeat this misshaped vermin. Let's continue on. So if we go ahead and look here, it says play cards, play any number of cards with the bonus icon. After that, perform the victory check. So we're going to perform our victory check. We have our 4 cubes. We have defeated our mist-shaped vermin. So now that he is defeated, we are going to gain the loot, and that's going to be 1 food. So let's go ahead and give Bjor that. So this guy is just raking in the food. Look, he's got 6 food. That's awesome. He can almost feed an army. And now that we've completed this, we would take our encounter card, flip it over and put it at the bottom of the encounter deck. And I know that's my combat deck, but I'm just kind of demonstrating. You put it right at the bottom. And now when it comes to your encounter cards that you've used, you're going to take all the ones that were used and the ones in your hand. You're going to put them back in your combat deck, and you're going to give it a good old truffle shuffle here. And then you'd be able, when the next combat comes, you're going to start again by drawing from your combat deck. Now, it's okay to shuffle it now because we've done our combat, and I don't think there's going to be another one in the tutorial, and it does tell you to go ahead and shuffle this because if you want to later, you could replay that combat against the misshaped vermin with a new set of combat cards, and we might do that at the end of this tutorial. So now that our energy is at 2, it's telling us that we should come to the end of our day. So let's go ahead and take a look. Rest, consume 1 food, restore 1 health, and lose 1 insanity. Terror, not insanity. If you don't have any food, drop your energy to 0 if it was already at 0. Lose 1 health instead. That'd be terrible. Just terrible. Now we're going to restore energy to full. If you're exhausted, you only get 4 points. So remember when I said if we would have used that card, we would have exhausted ourselves? We would have only gotten 4 energy in the next round. But instead, we're going to go to full energy. We're going to gain 1 health by eating one of our massive amounts of food. He's a walking food cart. And we're going to go ahead and continue on. It says advance your character by spending experience. We don't have any. We can then modify our decks. We're not going to do that either because this is the tutorial. If you are in a location with a dream icon, you have a dream. And so you're going to read the, if you're going insane though, you're going to read a nightmare instead. So we are on 102 and there is a dream sequence here. So normally you would go to your journal and you would read the dream for 102. But since this is the tutorial and they don't want to ruin any of the actual game, they've set up a special dream for us in the actual tutorial book. So here's 102, Hunter's Grove. As you walk into the shadow of the Hunter's Grove, your heart beats faster and your wound burns. You died not far from here 2 weeks ago, though it took some time for you to realize that. You try hard not to think about those events, humming your favorite tune to chase away the memories. So now we're going to go on to our dream. So here's our dream. It says, in your dream, you return to a dark ravine deep in the grove. Like many others, you search for a little girl who went missing in Connacht. Instead, you find a mass of what look like tangled black snakes crawling across the moss-covered stone. The mass rises on countless black legs and rushes at you. For a split second, you see the horrific truth. What charges is a malformed, overgrown, beating heart on countless legs of blackened veins and arteries. It opens its circular maw full of lamprey-like teeth. Next moment, it's on top of you, ripping into your side and trying desperately to push itself into your chest. With all your strength, you pull it away from the wound, throw it to the ground, hold it in place with your boot, and crush it with a swing from your hammer. Then you wake up alone in the forest, shivering. The wound burns again. You ask the village priestess and herbalist. You tried many remedies and quaffed foul-smelling mixtures. Still, the wound festers, turning black. You try to fall asleep, but your mind dwells on what fate awaits you, and whether a thing like the one that killed you will emerge from your chest once you die. So we're going to lose 1 energy and gain 1 terror. Wow, that's not a very good dream. The prophetic dream causes Bjor to lose a point of energy and gain a point of terror. Move the markers accordingly, and reading the dream or nightmare, continue the game. In this case, go to part 8, start of the next day. Well, a good thing to start a day because that wasn't very good. Now, of course, nightmares can also happen in this game. And of course, that's if you have too much terror, you're going to be reading nightmare sections. If this was the dream, I don't even want to know what the nightmare was. So our buddy Bjor here loses an energy and he gains 1 terror. After taking care of that dreamish nightmare thing, we're going to go ahead and do the order of the day. We're going to start by removing any of the mayhairs that are expired, and we're also going to reduce the timer on this one. So it's going to go from 7 all the way down to 6 now. So it's at what? 7? Oh, I went the wrong way. We're going to go this way. 7. We're going to go to 6. It's hard to read some of these numbers sometimes. Now, of course, I have the plastic ones, and I could probably put a wash on them so I could see the numbers better. But at some point, you could probably just use a die if you want. But these things are so awesome. I want to make sure I keep on using this stuff. All right, so we're at 6 on our little statue guy here. We're going to continue reading here. It says, reveal the next event card. Move guardians and pick active items and secret cards. So we don't have any items or secret cards, but we do have an event. It says, tired and in pain, you start the final leg of your journey. And here's a hint. Sometimes event cards have an additional impact in the game. Remember to apply any rules you find on them. So that was our event. So we're going to go into Whitening now. We're only going to pay 1 energy to move over there. And if we look at our card, Whitening does have this ability down here that triggers as soon as you walk in. Draw a blue encounter card when you enter this location. So we're going to move our miniature over there, and we're going to have to draw a blue encounter card. But first, we're going to go ahead and lose 1 energy in order to move. So our blue encounter card is a suspicious guard. So here's our affinity check. This is going to be a diplomacy type card. So this is a different type of combat system in the game. Not everything's going to be beaten down with your giant hammer. You've got to actually talk your way out of some stuff. So here's the affinity check. If the marker is on top during the affinity check, you win. If it's at the bottom, you lose. So these are if you're all the way down here, you lose. All the way at the top, you win. So we're going to put our marker here at the gray spot. And then here's some of the other things. Stage. Each stage represents the track and has different rules. So it looks like we're going to have to explain ourselves. And if we can gain any of these, we're going to be able to get the bonus for it, which looks like we're going to be able to tick our timer up 1. Now, of course, the response to our suspicious guard is that he's going to lower our thing by 1. Now, of course, if we win, we gain a rep, but if we lose, we do not gain, we lose a rep. That's terrible. So we're going to go ahead and place down our diplomacy card. And of course, we're going to then take our unshuffled diplomacy deck, and it's going to be similarly used against this as our combat deck was used against our mist-shaped vermin. So if we look at our diplomacy card here, it says, starting the encounter, draw 3 cards from the diplomacy deck. And of course, you have 4 people in the game. You only get 2. So we're going to draw 3. 1, 2, and 3. And of course, all of these were pre-generated to be on top. And we've gained show off. And again, we're going to, just like the other thing, we're going to try to match up our icons here to have things help us out. This will make us lose 1 health. And we're also going to have to remove the card that's last in line, but we're going to be able to move our track up 1. That's interesting. Backtrack. If the affinity is not green, it goes up 1. Okay. And then here's the last one, eye for detail. If the time marker is removed, we get to draw a card. So these are our 3 cards, and these are the type of things we're going to try to match up to our card over here to see if we're able to talk our way through the suspicious guard. So we're going to go ahead and pick our active character, which is Bjor. We're going to go ahead and skip the delayed abilities because there aren't any, and then we're going to start playing our cards. So before we play any cards, we're going to put our cube right there. And of course, we're going to try to gain as many as we can to get to the top so we can win, as opposed to going to the bottom. Now the first card we're going to play is our eye for detail. We're going to go ahead and set it right there. We're going to see what we're able to match up in our little chain here for our diplomacy. So we're able to automatically match this one, but we don't get anything from it. Now if we look at Bjor, he does have 1 caution, which right here, I need a caution to activate that. So it does work. So I'm going to gain that affinity, and it's allowing me, the varying bonus here is I get to move this up 1 place. Now that's going to be, I think, the end for our diplomacy, because I don't have, well, I could do backtrack because it allows me to play another card because I'm able to match this up down here. But I don't think I'm going to gain anything extra for it. So it's telling me not to do anything and just to end my turn right here. But before we do, I'm going to go ahead and place our little time token on this card so that I'll remember when it comes to the next turn, I can draw a card. So now that we've done that, we're going to go ahead and have our affinity check. Well, our affinity check is we are not at the top, so we haven't won yet. So that's too bad. So now we're going to go to the enemy response, resolve the response on the encounter card that matches the current stage, then perform an affinity check. Well, of course, our response is that he's going to take this down 1. So he's not really getting anywhere with this guy. Then it's going to go ahead and we have to check our, we have to do our affinity check again, and we are not at the top. So now we're going to check our readiness. If there's any other party members that are part of our diplomacy thing here, we could have the next player go if you wanted to, but we don't. It's just us. So we're going to end our turn. We're going to discard up to 3 cards. We only are carrying 2, so we don't have to discard any cards. The next thing we get to do is each party member draws a diplomacy card, and then we're going to start the next phase. So we're going to draw a diplomacy card, and we got misdirection. Oh wow, look at this. I can almost have links to about any. This is like a really good card if you want to like continue on your chain here, that's for sure. All right, we're going to put that to the side. And now we're going to go ahead and start from the top again. We're going to pick an active character, delayed abilities, remove the time token from each card and resolve the abilities triggered by the time token. So we're going to remove our time token now and gain the ability, draw 1 card. And what card do we get? Threatening Voice. Wow, I don't know if I want to use that on a guard. We get to lose 1 rep. Oh, that's probably not a good thing. If you have at least 2 courage or aggression, it's aggression. So this would be good for our character. He has 2 aggression, and I'd gain 1. So if it all else fails, losing a rep, but actually being able to succeed at your diplomacy might not be a bad thing. So we're going to go ahead and take that card into our hand. The tutorial now is going to tell us to play Misdirection. So we're going to go ahead and play Misdirection here. Now, of course, none of these don't matter if they match up because I automatically get to play 1 card no matter what. So no matter if I match this up or not, these don't actually pay any effect. This is our big kicker right here. ×2, and the marker goes up based on the ×2. So we're going to go up 1, 2. Wow, we're almost to the top already. That's going to be amazing. Now, if we play Backtrack, it's not going to get us anything. There's nothing there to gain. And Show Off doesn't have the ability to link up to any of these with this symbol here. So we're not going to be able to play that one either. So we're only left with our Threatening Voice. Remember when I said this probably isn't the best card to play? It is the best card to play because we can go ahead and play this right here and it links up with this, which means I get another action. Now, none of these other ones are going to link because I don't have any magic, so I can't do any magic. But if we look right down here, the ability on the card says when this is played, I lose 1 rep. Well, big whoop, I don't have any rep. So I don't actually gain any of that. But if I have 2 aggression, which remember I've talked about, we have that, we get to move our marker up 1, which now, since it's at the top, we're going to do our affinity check. It's right here. We're going to go ahead and do an affinity check. And since it is at the affinity, if the marker on the affinity check is on the lowest slot, you fail the encounter. If the marker is on the highest slot, begin the next stage and go directly into the check readiness step. If it is at the last stage, you win the encounter. Now, there's only 1 stage. Now, some diplomacies might have multiple stages that you have to get through, and they're going to have varying effects down here based on your, like, this symbol and this symbol. So for this one, it was up 1, down 1. On other ones, you might have, like, this might give you +2 if you have this type of symbol, and if it's this, it might go down 3. Who knows? I haven't seen actually any new ones, but I've only seen this one. So that's kind of how our diplomacy is played. This is a really cool system. I'm digging this system a lot. This system is awesome. So we have won our encounter against our suspicious guard. So now we do gain 1 rep. So our threatening voice would make us lose 1 rep if we played another diplomacy encounter and had to play that card. So that is our diplomacy. We're going to take this card after we defeated it and put it at the bottom of our encounter deck, and we're going to take all of our cards and put them back into our diplomacy deck, and we're going to shuffle that all up. We're going to give it a truffle shuffle just like that, and then when we come to our next diplomacy encounter, we're ready to go with our diplomacy deck. And of course, just like our encounter deck, it tells us if we wish to, we could play not only our encounter again, but our, diplomacy again if we want to, using the cards from this deck. Since we were able to get past our suspicious guard, we're going to go ahead and explore the Whitening so that we can find that meteorite. Now, to explore this location, it's going to cost us 1 energy. So here we are, Whitening. The hole is here, as always, gaping at the heart of Whitening. The white lichen that gave this town its new name seems to grow out of it. It covers the walls of the nearby halls with the thick coat. Only close up one can discover it is, in fact, a layer of small, sparkling crystals, like sea salt on the wooden posts of a pier. As you inspect it, several people watch you suspiciously. You shrug your arms to show them you're not interested in their secrets. Go to verse 7. So here's verse 7. There's no love lost between Connacht and Whitening. You shouldn't stay here too long. So we have to make a choice. We either visit the village tanner, we go to verse 9, or ask Whiteners about their menhir. Go to verse 5. I think we're going to go ahead and visit the tanner. We want to go ahead and find out where that rock is. So here's number 9. You ask around about the tanner Ephraim wanted you to find and draw some strange looks. Finally, someone tells you this man moved out several months ago, angry and confused. You reach the tannery, only to find the building abandoned and covered in cobwebs. What's going on? Was this a cruel joke? So we're going to gain 1 terror. Oh, that's not good. Gain part 2 of the surprising errand status. Exploration ends. All right, so we're going to gain a point of terror, then mark the second part of our status on the tutorial save sheet and continue the scenario. We're going to go all the way back. So our terror continues to creep up. We're at 2. And then we're going to go ahead. Down here is like this is like a very small version of the statuses, but here's kind of what they're going to look like inside the back of that sheet that I showed you that I didn't want to show you the back of. So we would go ahead and check off number 2 on our surprising errand. So now we have to go back here because that was kind of our mission. So we're going to move 1 over to here, and that's going to cost us 1 energy. So we're going to move our cube down to 2. And now we're only 1 away from where we started. But if we do move down there, we're going to become exhausted. Our tutorial does tell us we're supposed to move down and become exhausted. I don't know if that was the right idea, but sometimes it's okay to exhaust yourself. Because remember, sometimes time is important to keep. So we're going to go ahead and move ourselves down back to our farmland. So we're going to go ahead and move our energy down to our exhausted level. And if we look closely at our character here, it says festering wound. Lose 1 health every time you become exhausted. I became exhausted, so I have to lose 1 wound. So he gets a double whammy whenever he decides to exhaust himself. And then we're going to go ahead and use our final energy to go ahead and explore that location. And to complete our tutorial mission, we have to explore our location. So we're going to use one more energy. It's the last energy we have. So we're going to explore our farmhold, and we're going to not read the top part again. We're just come to the bottom where it says we can speak to our master. If I don't have the surprise ending status, go to verse 1. But it says complete your mission requires part 2 of the surprising errand. And I do have that, so we're going to go to verse 2. So verse 2 here says, you enter Connacht, exhausted and in pain. Yet even in this condition, you quickly realize something happened in your absence. Many sad-eyed townsfolk walk the streets or argue in small groups. Startled, you look toward the men here, but it seems fine. Surrounded by ribbons flapping in the wind, there's no wiredness in Connacht. So what could draw all these people out of their houses? As you approach the forge, you almost stumble upon the boy who usually delivered Airfray's messages. They're gone, the boy tells you. They left at the break of day. Airfray wants you to take care of his workshop. You stumble into the building only to find it empty, save for a note lying on the workbench, held securely in place by a heavy ingot of star iron. 3 times you attempt to read the parchment, your eyes watering from the helpless rage. It says Airfray left Connacht without you, traveling with Lord Yavin, Fail, Arbrit, and Niate. Probably mispronounced every single one of those. They head for Camelot, where they hope to find help for your town. You were deemed too weak for this journey, not good enough. As silent rage grows within you, gone are the exhaustion and pain. You leave the forge and look to the east. Somewhere there, behind rolling mist, clouds of wiredness, and dangerous trails of Connacht's champions journey on. You're sure you will find them. And why not? Each party member gains 1 terror. Just to finish off, we get terror. Congratulations, you have finished the tutorial scenario. You will find Airfray's letter in the game box. It will prepare you for the first chapter of the Fall of Avalon campaign. Good luck in the bleak world of the Tainted Grail. So that is our prelude. So we've made it through the prelude. That's right, our character was victorious, though I didn't have a doubt in the world that we wouldn't make it back alive. But now, at this point, I do want to try another one of those diplomacies and another one of those combat scenarios using the shuffle deck to see how we do. So if you're interested in that, please go ahead and stick around. If not, thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. All right, let's go check out the encounters. So the part of our villain is going to again be played by our misshaped vermin. I do not want to expose any more encounter cards than the ones that are provided in the tutorial. Now, of course, we are going to see probably a few more combat cards because I'm going to give these a truffle shuffle. We're going to go ahead and mix them up and draw some cards and beat this misshaped vermin. So according to our combat overview, we're going to draw 3 cards from the combat deck. 1, 2, and 3. So we got 3 cards here. We got reposition, defend, and powerful blow. All right, so we got 3 cards here. I'm just going to lay them out over here so we can see kind of the symbols and what they might match up with. Now, of course, we don't have any delayed abilities, but now we're going to go ahead and play our cards. So if we play our cards, let's see what we got. We've got our powerful blow. We could play this first. Now, of course, we're going to lose energy, and but when the time token ticks down, we're going to gain 2 more red cubes. This kind of would probably kill this guy in 1 shot. So let's not do that. Let's try something a little bit different. We're going to go ahead and play maybe. We'll just play defend just to have some fun here. We're going to play defend, and these symbols aren't going to matter. Nothing. Actually, I don't get anything for this at all. I decided to play defend, and that's going to be the deal. So we're going to play defend, and we're going to call it a day. It probably wasn't our best play, but I want to see a little bit more of how this works. So now that we've gone ahead and done that, we're going to check to see if we are victorious. We're not victorious. We don't have any combat pool over there. Now the enemy is going to attack us. So we're going to go ahead and look to see what he does. He has 0 to 2, so we're going to lose 1 health, but I'm able to prevent 2, and I forgot to put my time token on there. I have to put a time token on there so that when it comes to our next turn, we're able to take advantage of this draw 1 card. So now that we've come to the end of that round, it's going to say discard. Each party member discards up to 3. So they're at 3 cards. And we only have 2, so we're good. Now we have to draw 1 card. So we're going to draw a card. We got, what's this? Grapple. All right, I'm able to do some damage, maybe gain a card. If you receive any damage, I have to remove the last card in the chain. And I get to gain 3 when the time token goes away. Now I am going to remove our time token because at the top here it says delayed abilities. Remove the time token and take advantage of it. I'm allowed to draw another card. I got Hold Guard. And when he goes ahead and attacks, I can choose the enemy except run away. I can choose, you choose the enemy attack except run away, and then remove the card. Oh, that's kind of cool. So if this person had like 3 different things I could choose from, I could choose the weakest one, which is probably your best bet. All right, so we've got all our cards here. I think we're going to play Grapple. Grapple seems pretty good. We're going to go ahead and match these up. Look at this. All this stuff matches. Oh, but I got a ×2 down here. That's really good. We might do that. We might use our Powerful Blow. I could use my Powerful Blow and pretty much finish this guy right now. Or I could do Grapple, and that'd be about it too. We're going to go ahead and play our Powerful Blow. Why not? Boom. Look at this. I get 2 here. I get 2 here. So that's 4, which is our victory check. And he's going to be a dead vermin. Wow. I also lose one, what is these? Energy. Sorry, 1 energy. But if I decide to leave this here and go into the end phase, I'd be able to gain 2 more of these cubes going into the beginning of the next round. So this guy would be totally dead again. So that's our combat in the Tainted Grail. Our combat is complete. I would like to try and see what some of the diplomacy stuff we have in there is. So that was our Misshaped Vermin. Thank you so much for playing Misshaped Vermin. So again, the part of our diplomacy person is going to be our suspicious guard. We're going to place him right there. And then we're going to truffle shuffle up our diplomacy deck. Though we kind of already did a little bit, we're going to do it a little bit more just to get some more cards mixed up in there. We're going to see what we get from our diplomacy deck. We're going to put that there. And now let's go ahead and flip it over. Our diplomacy says draw 3 cards in diplomacy deck. So we're going to draw 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, see what we got. We got Bizarre Methods. Wow, everything links. That's pretty incredible. Toss a dial. Dial skull. Lose 1 rep. Grail. Nothing happens. Now let's see what other cards we have. We've also got the Might Makes Right. Now, of course, I'm going to lose 1 rep, but I get to gain 1 for each point of aggression I have. That's not too bad. Might Makes Right. It does, doesn't it? There's that threatening voice. We've seen that before. Bizarre Methods. I think we're going to start with this because I don't have any rep to deal with. So if we look at this, we can match this up. And it shows right here that I don't get anything here. But if I want to use magic, I'd go up 1. Now, if I have any of those, that's going to be awesome. But we're going to go ahead and look. Empathy. I need 2 empathy. I don't have any empathy, so that's not going to happen. I have caution. I have 1 caution, so I'm going to gain 1 symbol. And I have no spirituality. Oh, no. So I'm only going to go up 1. So we're going to place our marker on the gray and go up 1. Now let's see if we have anything else we can play. Well, first off, we have to link this down here in order to play. So I could play Threatening Voice if I want. Now, of course, I have to toss a dial. So we're going to take our dial and toss it in here and catch it. And we'll try to catch it. Let's see how we do here. I'm going to try to do this all in film. This is going to be amazing. All right, well, I caught it. Let's see what we got. We got the Grail symbol. So nothing happens, which isn't the end of the world because, well, I didn't have any rep to begin with. So nothing happens. We're up 1. Now let's see. We also have these other 2 cards. We have both Might Makes Right, which I can't link up without a magic symbol. So this one is no good. Or we have Threatening Voice, which again, I can link up, but it's not really going to help me because I don't have any magic to make it happen. And I don't feel like losing a rep, which I don't have. But I do go up 1 if I have 2 aggression. Okay, let's go ahead and do it. Let's do it. I have no rep, so it doesn't matter like it did last time. I'm going to gain 1. Now that's going to bring us to the end because we've gone ahead and played our cards. We're going to do Affinity Check. I haven't won yet. So then the enemy responds. Its response is that it's going to lower this 1. Now that the enemy has responded, we're also going to go ahead and check our readiness. We're not going to have that. We also do the Affinity Check as well. Didn't make it to the top or the bottom. So at the end, we're going to discard down to 3. Well, we only have 1 card. So we can't discard down to 3, but I do get to draw a new card. Let's see what we got. Backtrack. If affinity is not green, it goes up 1. Well, it is green, so that's not going to help me. Now, I could play Might Makes Right off the top here if I want to, because I automatically get this down here linked together. That automatically links no matter what when you play your first card. You don't have to have these extra symbols. I'm going to lose 1 rep, but I'm going to, for each point of aggression, I am going to gain 1. So we're going to go up 2, and that's going to bring us to the top. This symbol right here says discard the last card from the sequence. So if I discard the last card from the sequence, I think I go up again. So I could discard Might Makes Right. if I wanted to go up again. But we're at the top. We're going to check our affinity. We have completed this. I believe I did that correctly. If I didn't, please let me know in the comments below. I am learning just like everybody else, I think, who's playing the Tainted Grail right now. So that was our extra diplomacy one. That was actually a lot of fun. So that was the diplomacy, and that is the Tainted Grail. Wow, what a great game. And there you have it. That's the tutorial for the Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon. I am super excited. I only played the tutorial, and this game already seems like it's going to be a masterpiece. I am really excited. I love the way this combat works against these different characters, where you have to try to figure out the little puzzle in order to beat them. And I can't even imagine how awesome it's going to be in co-op, where you could have a card, play a card, and then it could go to their turn and be like, oh, this would be an awesome card to play on that. And you can play them all together. Oh, this is going to be an absolute exciting game to play. I really like the art on these cards. They look great. I'm excited to explore them. I like the fact that the map kind of disappears and may reappear based on our figures here and the time tokens that they have in there. I'm going to see what I can do about my learning how to flip coins. That's going to be one of my things I'm going to have to teach myself. I like how these sit in here. I like everything about this so far. I have nothing to complain about with this game, and I've only played the tutorial. I can hardly wait to dig through this game. Oh, it's going to be so much fun. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this prelude of the Tainted Grail. If you did, don't forget to hit the like symbol, the bell symbol, and then you'll know when the next playthrough comes out. Also, please feel free to leave anything in the comments below. Are you excited for this game? Have you played through the prelude already? Have you already dug into the Tainted Grail and started playing? And when you do get a chance to play this game, what character are you going to choose? Are you going to choose Bior, or are you going to choose one of the other characters that this game has? All right, that's the Tainted Grail. If you're excited to see what comes next, then I need you to meet me at the table.